Nigeria spent 1.2 trillion naira on consumer goods imports in 2021, according to foreign trade statistics of the National Bureau of Statistics, a 109% increase from 584 billion spent on importing consumer goods in 2018. They've got the categories there. Durable goods, 269 billion, semi-durable, 144 billion, and non-durable goods, 808.6 billion naira. So joining us to discuss further, Abdulazeez Kuranga is a senior analyst with Cordros Capital Limited. Abdulazeez, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Rotus.
Welcome to the show. Trade figures. What's the triggers behind those numbers that just continue to climb each time we talk about imports in Nigeria?
Yes. So, thank you for having me and thank you for the question. So, in 2021, when the economy was still coming back from after COVID, then the economy is growing, and as a result of that, you need to import as the economy is growing. Then, aside from that, there was also currency pressure. So in 2020, the parallel market rate depreciated by about 16.8% from 470 naira per dollar as of the start of the year to about 575 as of the end of the year. So the combination of increased economic activities, depreciation of the currency led to the increased imports in 2020. However, so far in 2021, we are seeing the likes of petroleum imports increasing, which was further worsened by this Russia-Ukraine crisis. And we also saw the wheat prices also increasing. So based on the last data from the NBS as of Q4 2021, the likes of refined petroleum imports as well as wheat contributes about 34.3% to total imports. So if you are seeing significant increase in those two legs, then definitely it is having an overall impact on the total imports into the country.
Let's look at inflation. Inflation 16.8%. You mentioned the naira at 577 or so towards the end of last year. As of now, I think it's topped 600 now. Yes. Appetite for imports still high. Yeah, there's the inflation figures. So inflation, FX, appetite for imports, do these trends continue as far as the triggers? Do they continue for the foreseeable future?
Yes, they are likely to continue for the foreseeable future. And that's because looking at food inflation, looking at the overall inflationary pressure, they are expected to continue to increase relative to inflation figures in advanced economies, even though inflation is also increasing there. But since the increase in the domestic inflation rate is higher than the increase in the abroad inflation rate, then definitely it tends to make imported goods to be cheaper than locally made goods. So as a result of that, there should still be an impetus to still want to import despite the significant depreciation in the currency. And from the currency aspects, we understand from the World Bank's report as of February 2021 that about 80 to 90% of FX needs find their way to the parallel market because they could not access what they need at the official
exchange rate, yes. Which is at 416.
Yes.
There's been a lot of emphasis on made in Nigeria goods, patronizing made in Nigeria goods. I mean, a lot. Right? It's not impacting these figures, right, that we're seeing. So what needs to happen to accelerate that?
Well, to accelerate made in Nigerian goods, definitely you need to look at the packaging, you need to look at quality and branding. So once the quality is there and once people can attest to the quality of these products, then definitely we should be seeing increased patronage. And apart from that, there are also issues pertaining to ease of doing business, infrastructure constraints. So all these affecting the production of locally made commodities. Then we need to address all those ease of doing concerns as well as the quality of the products and branding and packaging for us to see increased adoption of these made in Nigerian goods.
All right. Let's move to the banks now with respect to the tightening of access to Forex as a result of what we're seeing, I guess, with the reserves. Yes. What do you make of that development?
So for Forex, we need to look at it from demand and the supply perspective. So on the supply perspective, we understand majority of these inflows coming from CBN. We also have foreign investors. But from the CBN's angle, you look at issues pertaining to low crude oil production. crude oil production at 1.4 million barrels per day as of Q1, which is the lowest since the NBA started keeping the current data series.
Yeah.
And you look at it, this reduced crude oil production as well as the increased subsidy payments. Looking at 2021 alone, the government spent about 1.44 trillion naira on fuel subsidy, while only about 542 billion naira was remitted to the Federation account. So that means the amount that you spent on fuel subsidy was more than twice what you remitted to the Federation account. Taking it further into the current reality, as of the first 3 months of the year, about more than 600 billion naira has been spent on fuel subsidy, but yet nothing was remitted to the Federation account. So that lays credence to the fact that the higher import prices for petroleum products is significantly eating into the finances of the government. So as a result of that, we are not seeing the impact on the external reserve. Even as a matter of fact, as of 25th of May, the external reserve was at the lowest since about October 2021 at about $38.57 billion. And that is despite the rally in crude oil prices. So it shows that, number one, low crude oil production, and the other one, which is the increased subsidy payments, they are limiting the accretion to the external reserves. And if you now go into the demand aspects, import prices continue to increase. If import prices are increasing, like I said earlier on, refined petroleum products as well as wheat prices, they constitute 34.3% to total imports. So those two alone
Spike up, push up everything else.
Significantly.
There's a quote from the central bank governor here on oil theft. Where he said, I believe that was in a meeting with the aviation players, where he says, yeah, the oil theft in the Niger Delta is excavating the unavailability of foreign exchange. You think the government can do the security forces can do anything about what's happening there with the oil theft and I guess with the impact it's having?
Yes, so on that, the security issues with oil theft, so we've seen significant increase, and one of the major factors that also lead to increased oil theft is whenever prices are increasing. So it tends to give them the urge to still at least to vandalize and the like, so as to take advantage of those prices. Then definitely you need to tighten securities, and you need to also improve surveillances in those areas, and as well as probably dialogue with the community members so as to stop this whole thing. Then we can actually see some
improvements.
Yes.
MPC, you were one of the few analysts that hit the nail on the head that the MPC would raise the benchmark interest rate to 13.5. What's the impact on lending? Is that going to make lending more expensive? Yeah, there it is. So 13% from 11.5. Can you quickly tell us in about a minute or so about whether or not lending gets more expensive with the hike in the rate?
So over time, what we've observed is that commercial banks, they tend to respond faster whenever there is an increase in MPR.
As opposed to when?
Exactly.
As opposed to when they cut the rate.
As opposed to when they cut the rate.
Yeah.
So definitely, since given this significant increase, 150 basis points increase, then definitely we're expecting to see increased lending rates.
Gosh. But inflation is still at 16.82. MPAR is at 13%. Other climes, yes, the Ghanas, the Egypts, the South Africas of this world, everybody's hiking rates over. I mean, it's very quickly. Okay, well, you know what? We've run out of time. This is a very hot topic, but we'll have you back to talk more about this. Abdulazeez Kuranga, Senior Analyst, Cordials Capital Limited. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.